Good evening. My name is Eric Rame, and I'm with the ETM program at USC Upstate. And this presentation is for Class 499 Senior Seminar. It's the box report for 4.4, which is Legal and Moral Responsibility. The key points summarized. What ethical responsibility do engineers have to the public when they do not have legal responsibility? Well, engineers have special talents, and those talents are to be used to benefit the public. Wise use of these talents for the public good is expected. To do otherwise is professionally unethical. There was a story in the box report about a dam in Freeman Run, which is in Pennsylvania. There was an owner, George Bayless. He was the owner of a mill. He was requesting a dam be built to help him maximize his profits at a paper mill, sawmill. We hired Dalton as the civil engineer, and the relationship started off pretty rocky. Dalton desired to build it to the engineering standards of the time. Bayless was always worried about money. Bayless started overriding design specifications, and he made changes on site when the dam was being built. Where Hayton got a little tired of this, and he basically wrote Bayless a letter describing that he didn't want to have any more responsibility for all this chaos that was going on. He basically just kind of washed his hands of the whole deal. He knew it wasn't a good situation, but he just got fed up. Well, 2 years later, the dam failed. 78 people lost their lives, and several thousand lost everything else, homes and possessions. Well, Hayton stood up after the disaster because he realized that he was really at fault for not insisting that the dam be safe. He never was held legally responsible, but he did step up to the plate to bring the circumstances to everybody's attention. He went on to become a respected sanitation engineer throughout the rest of his career. Well, nowadays, would conclude that Hayton did not act in a proper way because he basically washed his hands of the project. An engineer cannot walk away from his professional responsibility. He knew that something bad was going to happen, and he just basically just let it go. Well, when you look at the Chapler applications, Chris is kind of in the same dilemma. There was a bad situation with his engineering group where a fair amount of them lost their lives. He was handed a project that they were working on, and he started doing some design checks and reviews, and he realized that the front entrance, there was an elaborate overhang over the front entrance, and he noticed that, or he did not believe that it was going to be adequately designed for the loads that it would get over its lifetime. So he believes it was unsafe. He believes it needs to be redesigned. He went to his management team, and they'd agreed, but they're kind of keeping it a little bit hidden from the customer. That'd be something I'm sure is going to be discussed more in depth in the story as it goes on. A real world application, I guess what came to my mind first was the Deepwater Horizon incident in the Gulf of Mexico. There was a lot of companies involved. They understood that it was going to be a monumental legal situation, and it was going to cost them a fortune. All the legal battles, all the environmental situations it called. So the companies basically, for the first few months, were just passing blame back and forth to each other. No one was accepting responsibility. Another problem with the situation involved a lot of international companies, British Petroleum and a few oil field service companies, aren't companies of the United States. They're, you know, companies that are registered in outside of the United States. So that was a little bit of a problem. Then our national and state governments, of course, got involved in it. Uh, BP, Petroleum, British Petroleum, had to go through a large PR campaign, and I still notice a lot of commercials on TV where they're describing what they did after the environmental situation, how they cleaned it up, how they responded. Well, that really wasn't the case the first couple months, but they're trying to get their reputation back. And I believe other parts of the country weren't really as concerned as the people that were affected along the Gulf Coast. I'm from the South and have a lot of relatives in Louisiana and spread around Mississippi and Alabama and all that. They kind of experienced all this, and it was a pretty bad economic downturn with the tourism industry, mostly fishing, and so they can tell you firsthand how it affected them. Where I think someone, say in Kansas, it really didn't affect them, so they don't seem to be as concerned about it. I picked a couple additional resources. One was about the Deepwater Horizon moral discussions. Just various people discussing, their take on the whole situation, and it's pretty interesting. Had some interesting concepts in it. And the other one was just basically an excerpt from a McGraw-Hill textbook that kind of went into a little bit more depth about these legal and ethical issues when you're doing engineering design. It was more about product development for the consumers, but it could relate to structural design and things like that too. Well, thank you for listening to this presentation, and hope you have a good evening. Thank you.